Welcome to another Tech Talk video. In this video I'm going to show you how to center your servo on your chassis. So first things first, what we need to do is make sure that both of these turnbuckles are precisely the same length. So you take your vernier and using this end, just going to measure up the length of the turnbuckle. And it doesn't, to be quite honest, it doesn't really matter what length you have them at to start with. They just need to be the same. Good. So both are the same, 0.65. And now I've got both the turnbuckles the same, it will highlight, and you might be able to eyeball it, that the wheels are now a little bit twisted either side. The next thing you need to measure, or what you need to make sure, is that the servo horn is actually vertical, straight up from the chassis. Now, with this particular chassis, it allows me to measure from the bottom of the bolt here to the cross brace. And what I've done here is I've measured the gap between the bottom to the top of the cross brace on both sides, and I've made sure that both of these measurements are the same. You need to find your own method with your chassis of making sure that that servo saver is vertically upwards. It's a little bit anal in terms of getting it that super close, but I think if you're going to make sure that the front end of your car is perfectly set up, I think it's worth doing. So now that I've got my turnbuckles the same and I've got my servo saver the same, what I would then go on to use are the setup gauges. But for those of you out there that haven't got those setup gauges, we can now use a ruler. And if I pull the ruler in here and I line the ruler up with my back wheel, you'll then start to see the differential in here of the wheel to the ruler, and the same on the back here as well. So at this point it now allows me to start to get the servo and start to move it from side to side. Again, measuring the gap from the back of the wheel and the front of the wheel will only give you a measurement of how much the toe out or toe in is at that moment in time. It won't actually give you an idea of where the servo is in space. So I need to be able to have a measurement to the back wheel, or a straight line, and if you've got one of your setup tables with lines on the table, you would be able to use that as a guide. So I'll now loosen off the servo saver, and now you can see that the servo saver is moving, and it allows me to set the wheels to where I want them to be. So now I'm gonna run the ruler up the back of the wheel. I'm just looking at this ruler and matching up to the back of the rear wheel, and then I can do the same on the other side. And I'm pretty confident that that is very similar on both sides. Now I'm going to push the servo down on the car, making sure that it doesn't move. And then I'm going to do the bolts up. from the bottom. And at that point, then I can see it, and hopefully you can too, that those wheels look fairly similar from both sides. Now when you're using setup gauges and you plonk your gauge across the top here, you would obviously have an opportunity to really see exactly where these wheels are in space. So it's a much more accurate way of doing it compared to the way that I've shown you without the gauges. So being honest there, if you're a 12 scale fanatic and you're going to be out there racing, I think it's a worthy investment. They're a little bit expensive, like all these things are, but A, you're going to use them a lot, and B, you can sell them secondhand on afterwards. They go pretty darn quickly if you see any online. So at that point, I've now got my Servo Saver vertical, I've got my arms the same, and now I've got my servo set. It only therefore comes for you to now set the amount of toe out or toe in, and the way you would go about doing that is measuring the back of the wheel compared to the front of the wheel, and by measuring those two numbers it will then give you the toe in and toe out relationship. So hopefully that's helped. Really important to set the front of your car up accurately, because obviously this is going to give you the feedback and the steering control that you want with the car. Hope you liked the video. Like and share, subscribe, and we'll see you all again next time.